I'm back. I know I said I would get videos out more often and I haven't been able to do that. Life got in the way, running a business, going overseas, doing a whole bunch of other things. But anyway, none of that matters. You're going to be on my training journey with me and I'm just going to be talking you through some of the stuff that goes on in my training. Today, I'm going to be taking you through an upper body bench session, my primary upper body bench session. I do 3 bench sessions in a week. In terms of my current goals, I'm trying to get stronger and I'm still trying to get faster, although I don't have any races or anything like that coming up. The primary focus is actually just to build my strength a little bit more. So I'm not doing a whole lot of running volume at the moment. My running volume is anywhere between 30 to 50 kilometers a week. 3 gym sessions in a week, still very much strength focused. A lot of work in the gyms. My gym sessions take about 2 hours, which you'll see a lot of today. But today we're doing some heavy bench press, so I'll take you through that and we'll talk a little bit more about it and whatnot. Nonetheless, I'm Hybrid Coach Mike. If you're new here, like, comment, subscribe. I give free advice about hybrid training to anyone who watches, and I also coach people around the world. So if you want more info about that, click the links below. Nonetheless, let's get into it. So, as I said, today's my primary bench session. I'm running 3 times a week, lifting 3 times a week. I'm benching 3 times a week. And recently what I found is that my bench responds really well to high volume. Previously, when I was training for races, it was really hard to get adequate volume in because I was under so much fatigue from all the running I was doing. So pushing high volume in the gym just didn't make sense. It was too hard. Now that I'm not really pushing my running that much, I'm only doing between 30 to 50 kilometers a week. Nice. Which for me right now isn't that much. I find that I'm able to push my bench volume a little bit more. So at the moment, I'm doing anywhere between 15 to like 30 sets in a program of just bench press, barbell bench press. That's not including the accessories that come with that. And I found that to be really good. World record bench presses sometimes will do up to 50 or more sets per week. Obviously, it's going to be dependent on what you need. Not everyone needs this much bench press, but for me, I need a lot of volume, I need high intensity, and that's what I've found has been able to progress my bench the most. As I was saying, bench tends to respond really well to high volume, which is what I found, and I found that for a lot of the people I coach as well, both boys and girls. The reason why your bench press can respond to really high volume compared to things like deadlifts or squats is because the musculature is a lot smaller in comparison, and those muscles tend to recover way quicker. In addition to that, I find bench press to be the most technique dependent lift. Squats and deadlifts are a lot easier to learn for most people, but a really good bench press technique wise is very hard to learn and it takes a lot of practice to master. There's so many different variables in terms of hand width, shoulders, where your legs are, all these kinds of things. So playing around with them, finding what is right for you, and then drilling it and drilling it and drilling it, practicing it will make a world of difference, which is why you can also see a lot of high volume in good bench presses. So this will probably be my top set of bench press today, and I'll do 2 sets of this. This is 117.5 kilos, and I'm doing 5 sets of 5. I'm in week 3 of my program, and I find I try to work out what number I want to hit at the end of my program, and then I work backwards from that. So I figured at the end of this program, I'll probably finish it in week 5 or 6. I figured I would probably want to hit roughly 120 or 120 to 125 kilos for 5 reps at the end. So what I do was I work backwards from there. 125, 122, 120, 117, 115, 112, and so on. So today's 117, which means next week, hopefully 120, the week after, hopefully 122 or 125. I find working it out backwards from your goal is one of the easiest ways to then make sure you're just on track. You just need to be realistic about what your progressions will be each week. Okay. Yeah, that was good. That was good. I'm happy with that. All right, we're gonna do one more set. Normal bench press is completed, which means I will then do a variation. As today's my primary bench day, that is close grip bench press. When you do close grip bench press, generally you want to go 1 hand space in from whatever your normal grip is. So my current hand space, not that you guys can see up close, but is my ring finger, my middle finger just before the ring on the barbell. So today I'm going to go about 1 hand space in from that, which means I'll be roughly somewhere in the middle of like the smooth part in the ring. That's how I do it. Some people have other preferences. For me, it just allows me to ensure I'm using more of my tricep, which is the focus of the close grip bench press in my case. Something to note about good bench presses, if you look at them, some of the world record holders, anywhere around the world, natural or in hand, they always got massive upper bodies. You'll generally see high levels of muscle mass and high levels of body fat to be the golden duo, other than technique and all that stuff, that you will note of good bench presses. They're either huge muscle mass or high body fat. The reason why is both of those things provide you with the power and output in order to recover, obviously the strength, and they can alter your range of motion of the movement as well, as bench press, as I mentioned before, is really technique dependent. So today you'll see me do a lot of accessory exercises for my upper body. There is no lower body training today, only all upper body, and I'll be doing a lot of upper body builders in order to get my upper body bigger, because I find the bigger and stronger my upper body is, the better my bench press. Even if it is muscles that are somewhat unrelated to the bench press itself, having more mass on your upper body, I think, is always going to serve your bench press well, regardless. There are 2 days of the week where I do no lower body at all. I have one day that I completely rest off training, which is normally either a Saturday or Sunday. On that day, obviously no training, so my legs get a break. And then I have this day, which is today, which is where I do no lower body as well, all upper body only. The reason for that is that I do a lot of running for the most part for my body weight. I'm about 93 kilos. My legs do feel it after I run, particularly because my mileage needs to be quite high in order for me to get enough of a stimulus in order to adapt. So 30 kilometers is quite manageable. When I get up to 50 and above, it can be quite hard. So I like to give my legs a break every now and then. For me, today is one of those days. I did a long run yesterday, so today I'll take a break and then I'll be back on the leg train basically from Tuesday to Saturday. The reason why we take a break on the legs, one, obviously let them recover. Two, because I'm still trying to get my squat stronger, I do need my legs to be somewhat fresh when I go to squat. So I find being able to do that means I need to take a couple days off in a week. If I was doing a proper race prep, I wouldn't be trying to push my squat as much, and I would be running more frequently, which means I wouldn't be so concerned about giving my legs a break. I find I can still run on tired legs, even if it's just easy runs. I find my legs actually adapt quite quickly, and my fitness improves obviously a lot more when my running frequency is higher. But in this case today, taking the break means I give my legs enough of a break. I do a little run tomorrow, then I squat on Wednesday, and my legs are normally good to squat by Wednesday. And this week, I think my squats might be going up to close to 180 kilos or so for 5. That'll be in another YouTube video. I mentioned before how today's primary focus is just building a bigger upper body, both when it comes to bench pressing frequency to build up the muscles of the chest than the ones that I'm using when I bench press. Incline bench that you already saw, lats, and then back, all that kind of stuff. These areas, the back in particular, is not necessarily used while bench pressing, but it creates more cushion and stability for the shoulder, which therefore allows you to produce more force when you bench press. A bigger back is not going to directly impact your bench press. It is going to indirectly impact your bench press. And that is normally by creating more stability through the musculature of your back, of the shoulder joint, of the area around it. It gives more surface area in contact with the bench. This means more stability, means you can produce more force. You need things to be stable. You'll find that progression with some exercises, particularly those of the upper body, can be really hard, particularly when you're targeting smaller muscle groups, like the redelts that I'm about to do now. It's really hard to improve week to week. You can apply progressive overload without just adding weight. Some instances it could be adding reps, increasing time under tension, slowing down the way you lower the weight. I find with most small muscle groups, if the intensity's there, if you're hitting it frequently enough, it's probably going to grow anyway. Just because you're doing the same weight for weeks on end or sometimes not able to progress it, does not mean you actually aren't growing or that area isn't improving. You can get a stimulus just by hitting the muscle group, even a margin better than what you did before. And that doesn't necessarily need to be via load. Sometimes progressive overload could be doing the same weight for weeks on end. That could be more than what you have done in the past. Doing the same weight for 3 weeks when you have only been able to do it for 1 week before is an improvement on what you've done in the past. So, something to consider. I do core like at the end of every workout. There's no reason where having a stronger core is going to be bad for you. I can't think of anything. So I'll always do some kind of ab work or oblique work or whatever at the end of each workout. You do use those muscles quite a lot when you run as well, so it kind of makes sense to use them and train them to be stronger. Today I'll do side raises for my obliques, and then the other 2 sessions I'll do some other stuff. I also find this gives me a really good stretch, like through my back. I am not mobile, so doing movements that I can kind of stretch things out and load at the same time are always really beneficial for me, I find. That's a wrap on today's training. I'm going to be making videos like this a lot easier, a lot more regularly. So you guys will just see an insight into my training. If you want particular things for me to talk about, just comment below. But also if you need coaching or help and guidance with your hybrid training, I coach people all over the world in running, lifting, and rehabilitating their injuries. All you have to do is visit my website, send me a message, and I'll go ahead and do the rest. Nonetheless, tune in next time. Thanks. Like, comment, subscribe, you know, all that stuff. Bye.